Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, someone call Mr. Fantastic. We're heading into the negative zone. What wasn't in that Nintendo Direct Mini? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellis, joined as always by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. How's it going, Mark?
It's going great. We were just talking about a little before we began recording that it's really summery right now.
Feels like summer.
Feels like summer.
Like we're going to go down to the beach.
Mhm.
We're going to get some...
Chicks.
Yeah, gonna get some chicks. Gonna eat a hot dog. What do people do in the summer?
I don't know. What do people do at the beach?
I don't... Why do people eat hot dogs? All these things are mysteries to us. Mark, two things before we get into our topic.
Yes.
One, if you would like to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces, you can. All you have to do is shoot us an email to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com with your home address, and I will send you my copy of Sonic Forces once it comes back to me. We came to the realization earlier that there might be children who listen to this show.
It's possible.
It's possible. All things are possible in Christ.
I mean, we talk about how old we are constantly, and nothing thrills children more
Right.
than two men talking about how old they are and their body hurts.
And how much they don't understand Minecraft. I'm sure kids love it.
Yeah.
But if you are a child, do get your parents' permission before sending your address
Yeah, definitely.
to two old weirdos.
Mhm.
On the subject of two old weirdos, BuzzFeed is running some kind of recommend podcasts to us feature right now. Or we think they're still running it at the time of this recording. They are. Hopefully they still are on Thursday at midnight, which is when you're listening to this, of course, the second it comes out. So if you could just Google BuzzFeed Underrated Podcast 2018, you'll find this article. Maybe recommend us for this thing, because maybe we're an underrated podcast. Mark, do you feel like we're appropriately rated?
No.
Would you say we are overrated or underrated?
Under.
Mark, that's all correct. Okay, let's get into our topic of the day, which, of course, is what wasn't in that Nintendo Direct Mini. We usually try not to be super negative on this show, right?
Well, and I don't think we are going to be negative.
Right. We're going to talk about negative spaces. Though.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Because really, I think for a Nintendo Direct Mini, it was really good.
Yeah.
And I think obviously it's not a full Nintendo Direct. It wasn't like 45 minutes of announcement after announcement after announcement.
Right. We didn't see the divine light of our risen Lord that then showed upon us and saw our souls as we saw it. You know, this was just like, here are some things that are coming out.
Yeah, and I think after Nintendo had such an amazing 2017 with two potential like game of all time contenders.
That's right.
That people are,
and then like not slouching anywhere else either. Like Xenoblade Chronicles was a big game that a lot of people played and was received well. ARMS, Splatoon, like they did a lot. Mario Kart 8, like just there was a lot of great stuff.
So after such like a big, amazing, high year for Nintendo, I think people are a little bit nervous as to what 2018 is going to look like.
Right.
And so when Nintendo's first direct or mini direct of the year didn't come out with both guns blazing, I think there was some like reaction to that.
Yeah.
Where like, well, if they had something big to show, they would have shown it.
Right. And first of all, Nintendo, think of all the things that we didn't know of until the Switch commercial that came out at the very end of 2016. That everything that was in that commercial we've seen now has come out. Like Mario Odyssey, we didn't know about Mario Odyssey a year before it came out.
Yeah, I think we didn't know about it until the January event.
I mean, we had only seen like the little snip of it in that commercial. But yeah, and then things like Skyrim on Switch, we didn't know that was coming. There were some leaks. Doom, yeah. There were like leaks and stuff about Mario plus Rabbids, but like we didn't know about that until E3 is when that was announced, and then it came out like 3 months later. So like I think Nintendo has been playing and they always sort of do, but like they've been playing close with a lot of their announcements. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to get announcements at E3 or even announcements in the coming months that are for games that are coming out this spring and summer.
Yeah. So basically, I don't think I have any negative feelings about this mini direct at all. I think there are just a lot of questions about what 2018 looks like.
Absolutely. So I think before we get into like what announcements we thought were missing from this, I think maybe just worth pointing out, we talked about it a little bit on our Tuesday show when we talked about what was in the direct, that there was not the normal Nintendo fanfare about we're putting out a direct in a couple days, and here's what it is. It also wasn't like a live event in any way. You could scrub through that video by clicking on different topics. So like, it wasn't a streaming video, it was a posted video.
Well, and I think the reason they didn't announce it beforehand was because it was a mini. Like, I think the idea was that it was just going to drop out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if that had happened, if nobody knew it was coming, and then just on Thursday, this mini direct showed up that announced a Mario Tennis game and Dark Souls and all this stuff, that would have been awesome because word had leaked out earlier that, expectations were skewed a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is just worth pointing out that was not part of the direct. There was no like official pomp and circumstance around it, I guess. And also, if it is if you compare it to the January thing that happened last year, that was a live, people on stage, awkward, goofy thing. I would say that the presentation here wasn't goofy. It was pretty informational, right?
Which has kind of become their go-to for directs now, where it's just like, here's like just a list of things we're going to talk about, and now we're going to talk about each one with not much filler in between.
Right, and not really any, like, we didn't see the that Nindies guy. We didn't see
although
Koizumi.
was he the one that was narrating?
I don't know. I don't. We didn't see Reggie. So yeah, it's I sort of miss that personality.
I think there's a reason it was called a mini, though.
I agree.
Yeah, like who knows what whenever we get the next full direct, what that will. I would imagine it'll be more similar to directs we've had in the past.
Have you seen any of the speculation that a direct mini historically leads to a direct maxi?
Yes, it's a sign.
It is
of a maxi to come.
That there has never been a Nintendo mini direct without a full Nintendo direct more than 20 days after it.
I have seen that. I feel like that was kind of debunked, where that was more like regional
interesting
things, and I don't know. I personally am not expecting like a full direct in the next like 20 days.
I'm just saying, start the clock.
It'd be cool. It'd be fun.
All right, in terms of announcements here, what did we want to see? What had we hoped to see that we didn't?
Well, for me, outside of any potential game announcements,
Mm-hmm.
I really want to know more about Switch's online services.
Yeah, because
and
that encompasses so much. Like the online services, just in terms of of voice chat capabilities, of more just the online infrastructure could use an overhaul so that we've got more stability, and other like third-party games that rely on that sort of stuff. I feel like there are just a lot of question marks in how it works, what it costs, and that's all very important.
Well, because we know how much it costs, $20.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But for me, a lot of it is like, I want some sort of either virtual
console.
Yeah, virtual console. I was gonna say virtual arcade, virtual console, or learning just more about the thing we do know is coming, which seems to be a library of Super Nintendo and NES games that have
with
some sort of online functionality. Like, I just wanted to know what that is. I think it's interesting that on the US eShop right now, uh, since its release, it's been in the top bestsellers, and right now it's number one is versus Mario Brothers.
Right.
And
Versus Super Mario Brothers.
yeah, sorry, versus Super Mario Brothers. And I think the reason it's up there is because even though it's not the exact NES version of Super Mario Brothers, people want those games
Yeah.
on Nintendo platforms, and this is the closest that they can get right now. And I think that's why it's selling so well. It's not because people have a fondness for the Versus version of Super Mario Brothers. It's because they want to play this game.
Right. Well, and certainly, I mean, have you purchased any of the ACA games?
No.
They're all pretty faithful ports of these arcade games, but they all have like a little bit of extra UI to deal with. And it's great that there are different ways that you can affect like scan lines or it faking the shape of a monitor or whatever. But like there's just more menu to deal with in these things. So it is fundamentally like not optimized for the experience of playing it on the Switch. It's not like pulling up the Virtual Console and clicking on Super Mario Brothers 3 and playing it. There's another layer of like artifice and garbage on top of it. So like it's amazing to me that people are still flocking to versus Super Mario Brothers, even with this weird little like menu system that you have to go through to get to it.
And since it's like up there so much, I am kind of tempted to check it out. Not just because we in our ranking the Marios, we had the original Super Mario Brothers fairly low.
You can check out that episode from a week ago today.
And was it the lowest? It was down there.
It was down there, yeah.
But
I think it was. I think it was 12 of 12, yeah.
But I'm interested to know, like, it says that like enemy placement is different and things like that. Seeing those differences, I would be interested in. But that's kind of beside the point.
The point is, though, the original Super Mario Brothers should be on this thing. Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers 3, World, 64, Sunshine. All these games should be available on Virtual Console. And right now, we don't have any inkling that that's even, like we had heard rumors about GameCube games coming to Switch, I think before the system even came out. And we just don't have any official word on whether that's even in the plan.
And I guess a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago at this point, we got a little bit more information about the Switch's online system in general. Like we got pricing and vague information about what it includes. And then we haven't heard anything. The original word was that it was going to come out in early 2018.
Yeah, well, the original word was that it was going to by summer of or end of summer 2017.
That's right.
And we all assumed that meant in conjunction with Splatoon 2, which obviously uses online, but they're not charging for it. And, if there's more to what that is, if there's like a, Miiverse-esque component to it, we don't know, and it's not active yet. So
yeah, that's one thing that I am interested in learning more about that was not in this Direct Mini.
Not even mentioned. Also not mentioned a lot of other previously announced Switch games. We are talking about games like Octopath Traveler, Yoshi, whatever that the name of that game ends up being, Wolfenstein 2, the new Fire Emblem game, and Bayonetta's 1 and 2.
And these are all games that I guess most of these are games that we know are coming early in 2018.
I'm not convinced that we do have a date for Octopath Traveler or even a commitment of a year.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I'm fairly confident that it's like a early to mid 2018 game, like announced that way.
All right.
But I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, who knows?
It has happened before.
We've both been wrong sometimes at the same time. Yeah, so
I guess Fire Emblem is the one that we're like, we know basically nothing about this game.
Yeah, other than it is a full Fire Emblem game. It's not
and that it's coming in 2018 sometime.
Yes. Yeah, I don't feel real broken up about this. I feel like Fire Emblem in particular, and maybe even Yoshi too, are going to be like latter half of the year games. I think we'll hear about them at E3. And that's that. I don't need to hear about those games before. Really.
Well, I think Yoshi has been confirmed to be earlier than the
Okay.
latter half of the year. But more specifically, I just think it's interesting that these weren't mentioned in the context of the reaction to the Direct Mini, where it's like, ooh, Nintendo's first half of the year is looking real bare bones.
Sure. When it's like, well, we do know about this and we do know about
We
this.
know about all this other stuff that wasn't mentioned at all in this Direct. And basically, I guess I don't think that we actually know what the first half of Nintendo's year looks like yet.
Yeah, that this mini direct really didn't. All it did was show us some stuff. It did not show us all stuff. What else? Big like category wise was missing here, Mark.
I mean, we didn't. Nintendo's been talking up new IPs since before the Switch was announced, and definitely since the Switch was announced and ARMS was revealed.
Yeah,
they are always mentioning that they're working on new IPs, looking for new, interesting ways to play the Switch, and we haven't seen any of that yet.
Right. And in fact, this direct didn't really show anything being developed by Nintendo's big internal houses. The Mario Tennis Aces is developed by Camelot. That is, they do a lot of Nintendo or Mario sports titles. But like we didn't see anything from the studios that would be giving us, like a new Metroid or Mario or Zelda or whatever.
Or even just like an Animal Crossing or a Pikmin or any of that stuff. We didn't see any of their like Nintendo's like marquee titles.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of marquee titles and people working on stuff, Retro? You don't think Retro has been spending their time just putting Funky Kong into Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, do you?
I mean, I think they were probably involved, but no, I don't imagine that
they've still got some cool game coming.
Oh, man, that feels like what can that retro game possibly be that will make people happy?
Oh, I don't know.
Because
I mean, Metroid Cross Future Zelda.
It just seems so.
That would do it, though, right?
I mean, yeah, that would do it.
Metroid Cross Future Zelda.
I just feel like this game has been, even though we know nothing, zilch, not a thing about this game. It has been built up in everybody's minds so big, that I feel terrible for anybody whose job it is to figure out how to reveal it.
It'll be a match 3 puzzle game.
I think fandom would tear itself in two. I don't think I don't know what would happen if it turns out to be like a third Donkey Kong, which I think the fact that they are releasing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on Switch is a good indication that what they're working on is not a new Donkey Kong Country game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I wonder yeah, I mean, but we could speculate about the future of Donkey Kong kind of forever. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens with that franchise and with that developer in the future. No mention of it here.
Yeah, I mean, even some of Nintendo's like what I guess I would call B tier franchises. Like, I would love for another Rhythm Heaven game.
Sure. Wasn't there also a little bit of a rumor about a new 1080 snowboarding game?
Yeah, I think like they renewed the like the trademark or something for it. But again, that would be an N64 game, right? The first one was an N64 game, so that would be one for a N64 Virtual Console.
Interesting.
Potentially.
Virtual Console or Classic
Edition? Oh, not
Edition?
Virtual Console. That's what I meant. Classic Edition.
Either way.
Classic Edition.
Or maybe they need to put out a 1080 snowboarding game to coincide with the Winter Olympics.
Or to coincide with Steep from Ubisoft, which
that's right.
Like the Sword of Damocles is threatening to drop at any moment.
Mark, all of these things are possible. Here are some other things that we didn't see. There was no talk of any. Look, there were a bunch of Wii U ports, or just ports in general, announced for this thing. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze,
Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, Hyrule Warriors, Dark Souls, The World Ends With You. But some of the more obvious Wii U games that I think everyone has been expecting to see pop up on Switch were nowhere to be seen. So we're talking about games like Super Mario 3D World, and therefore also Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. Talking about games like Super Smash Brothers and
Mario Maker.
Mario Maker, yeah. So, what do we think? Do we think there's a clock on those? Like, do they expire at some point? Like, is there a point? I think Smash for sure. There's a point where it doesn't make sense to port it.
And I think we've probably passed that point.
Yeah,
Well,
I feel like we're
guess,
there.
I don't know really, right? For every time that I'm like, uh, anytime you're like thinking that the Switch has too many ports, because there are a lot of ports from other systems, a lot of them Wii U ports.
Yeah.
Most indie games
Right.
are indie games that were coming from from other platforms.
Yeah, everything we talked about on our What Are We Playing This Week last week are ports of games that were available elsewhere.
But I think the secret sauce that is the Switch is the fact that everything's portable.
Yeah.
And that makes buying games like Skyrim at full price super exciting.
Yeah.
Because you're like, now I can play it anywhere.
Right.
And so...
And maybe that 90% of the time means in front of my TV.
Yeah, and so maybe Smash, the Wii U 3DS version of Smash coming to Switch late, like later this year, the portability factor would be enough.
Yeah,
sure.
like
I could get excited for that.
It also, I mean, Smash. Well, I still think the way to go is Smash 5. The ability to combine all of the levels and like single player modes and multiplayer modes from both versions of that game and all the DLC characters.
And throwing ice climbers in there.
Throw them ice climbers back in. See if you can get Solid Snake. Yeah, I mean like a Smash Brothers Complete edition. That's appealing in and of itself. But none of this stuff is anything we actually heard about. What do you think about Mario Maker?
I don't. How does it make sense on the Switch? It seems like they'd have to. It's kind of built for the 2-screen experience, and they would have to kind of completely reconfigure it.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they just made level creation, mandatory handheld mode. And I know that's not something that they love, but like they could do that.
I think I'm more interested in seeing a new like 2D side-scrolling Mario game than I am Mario Maker. But putting aside like basically I feel like we have exhausted all of the obvious, like you said, like Wii U ports outside of these three.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, because we do essentially have the rest of them. I suppose they're like, if there are any stragglers, it would be like Pikmin. Pikmin 3, I guess is what it was.
But we know that a Pikmin 4 is coming, not that necessarily stops them from
porting the old one.
But like Star Fox Zero doesn't make any sense really on Switch. Not only because the game was poorly received, but just like the
control scheme was definitely reliant on a 2-screen experience. And the Pac-In game that came with it, the Star Fox Guard, also definitely needed 2 screens to even play it. So yeah, that game is going to be stuck there forever, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really feel like it makes a ton of sense to bring Super Mario 3D World over. Not that it's a bad game and doesn't and wouldn't be great to have on the Switch. I don't know, for some reason, in a way that I can't articulate, which makes it not very interesting.
Very good.
I just
keep going then.
I just don't think it makes sense to bring over.
Here, I want to see just another Super Mario 3D game. That's it, Yeah, 3D World is great. I love 3D Land as well. I don't need to see both or either of those games ported to Switch. I just want to see whatever the next version of that is, because it's going to be great and it's going to be fun and we're all going to love it.
Yeah, it's too bad that they only have one team that works on like those mainline Mario games.
Yeah.
Because, and it's probably a large team, but because it would be interesting to have a team handling like 3D World titles,
yeah,
versus a team handling new Super Mario Brothers versus a team handling whatever Odyssey becomes.
Right. Open world Mario.
Yeah, I mean, same with Zelda, right?
Yeah.
You have one team that is splitting their time between, like Link Between Worlds and Breath of the Wild, and obviously not everybody's working on everything,
right? But just the idea that like I think fans have come to recognize that like a Zelda game does not equal like there are two different kinds of Zelda games. There are two different kinds of Metroid games. There are maybe three different kinds of Mario games. And if they just had like I think with Metroid it's easy, right? You say Prime and like okay, it's a different kind of Metroid game. But we haven't established that vocabulary necessarily for Mario and Zelda.
Yeah, outside of the new series.
Right, and even the new series is a little incomplete because obviously the old Mario games would fall
Yeah,
into that
that's true.
same sort of genre.
But those
at
are all
least.
things I'd like to see in 2018. Like if you gave me a new Super Mario Brothers, um,
Like a side scrolly one, yeah.
yeah, like a Link Between Worlds type game,
Hmm.
or like some sort of, I guess, a 2D Metroid just came out on the 3DS.
Right, and Prime 4 will come out probably next year, maybe this year, who knows. But yeah,
It'd be fun to see one of those Mario or Zelda games this year.
yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, no 3DS titles were part of the announcements. They did mention Kirby Battle Royale just sort of in passing.
Mm-hmm.
I think just as part of the Kirby Star Allies.
Yeah, it was like you can check out the demo for Battle Royale.
Right, available now. But I don't think this is necessarily. I don't think we should necessarily take this as the 3DS is dead, kind of thing because it's just like they were only talking about Switch games.
How annoyed would you be if this year, like a Link Between Worlds type Zelda comes out on the 3DS instead of the Switch?
I'm not convinced. I think we will see another Zelda game on 3DS. And I don't know if it'll be. I think it could be like Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time, like another 3D Zelda on the 3DS. I think that's a possibility.
Oh, you think like it would be in the vein of Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time? Because we haven't seen them
right,
make
another
3D
game
Zelda
like
that.
But I think those games sell well on the 3DS.
And I guess they have the engine.
And they have the engine. And for those games, it looks really good. Those are like the definitive ways to play those games. I think, Mark, I don't think we're done with the 3DS.
You think that's more likely than like one of those Zeldas showing up on like a Link Between World type Zelda showing up on the Switch? Which one do you think is more likely? Oh, that's
I
feel
worry,
like you're probably right, but it's such a bummer to me.
I worry that Nintendo is at this point going to be too like precious about what Zelda is to put out a what would normally be perceived as a portable Zelda on the Switch, which is their home console. That also just happens to be portable. Like I think the next Zelda game that we see on Switch will be a big 3D affair.
So do you think that's because if they're working on a 3DS Zelda right now, that's because development is so far along and that they want to keep supporting the 3DS, or do you think it is that they don't want to cross those streams? They want to, because they've had those two different hardware platforms to delineate the series previously.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is worth noting that like the 3DS is, when you compare it to Switch, it is a budget platform, right? The hardware is cheaper. The games are, their standard price is 33% cheaper, right? $40 versus 60. So like, I think, I think they're going to keep up that sort of like value proposition of like the lesser games aren't, at least for the time being, are going to continue to show up on the 3DS. Whereas like the bigger budget, more like 3D fully realized experiences will be on the Switch.
But don't you think that if they made a Link Between Worlds type game for Switch, they could charge $60 for it? I don't know that. Do you think it's like the pricing? Like, would you pay $60 for that, or do you think what they're worried about, and what may be true, is that everybody's brains are just trained to those types of games being $40?
Yeah, I know that's a great question. I honestly don't know. And I think it's a little bit of uncharted territory, right? Like if like let's imagine, this is a totally impossible scenario, but that like PlayStation is going to put out a big first-party game that is like A Link Between Worlds, right? That's a top-down adventure game. Somehow calls back PlayStation's history in like a meaningful way. I don't know what that would be exactly, but like, what would they charge for that? And would people view that as like, a weird little, like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's not a $60 like full release like big budget thing, like, is it Zelda? Kind of, if it's on 3DS.
Well, so I personally would be very disappointed if these, like handheld Zeldas don't end up making the jump to Switch eventually. I also don't think it's completely unprecedented because the new Super Mario Brothers series started out as a DS title, and then they, like, there was no weirdness when they released it on Wii as a full, I guess it was $50 at the time.
Yeah.
Or on Wii U, nobody was like, what's this $60? Why are we paying $60 for a DS or 3DS title?
That's true. I guess I didn't really think of the new games, which have obviously hopped back and forth between console and handheld.
I think you could also just release them as a eShop exclusive and charge $40 for it.
Yeah, sure.
If like the pricing thing was what was keeping them from doing it. I think you're probably right that we'll see some like it's inevitable that we'll see a title on the 3DS this year that everybody will groan, including myself, and be like, I wish this was on the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if that is going to happen, we didn't hear anything about it in this direct.
Right. That's right.
Also interesting to note, we didn't hear anything about mobile titles. Nintendo is supposedly hard at work on a lot of different games for iPhone and other mobile platforms. And we don't know what those are.
But they've never, to my memory, they've never crossed those streams before, right? They have been, I feel like they've been very...
Oh, this is interesting.
Like deliberate about keeping their mobile titles as separate entities, separate directs.
Yeah.
And having their like console handheld gaming be its own thing.
Was there a Fire Emblem Direct that was like multiple Fire Emblem games, one of them being Heroes?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that's where we learned about Heroes.
Yeah, so that may be the only one of those though. Other than that, they do, you're right, keep them pretty well separated. And that like Mario Run isn't a bullet point in a presentation about other Mario games or other Nintendo games.
Yeah. Huh. So I guess actually it wouldn't surprise me at all if in the future we had a Animal Crossing Direct that had the Pocket Camp plus whatever other Animal Crossing title they announced for Switch or whatever, and how they interact with each other.
Man, they can't do another Animal Crossing on 3DS, can they?
No, I don't think they will, especially because New Leaf, like in Japan, continues to sell really well. So
that's a good
there's
point.
No like reason. I don't think there's any reason for them to put a new one out on when they...
Other than it is proven to
it
sell
would sell
very
a bunch.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it would sell really well on the Switch.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, actually, this is a kind of a different topic, but I wonder if Pocket Camp is actually robust enough to interact with a new Animal Crossing game, or if they would have to do significant work. Because as it is now, you don't see any like hint or tease that there's anything more to Pocket Camp in its current form.
Yeah.
With the mobile title, you could easily release like a 3.0 version,
right?
That has a bunch of
different
like functionality.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think when Pocket Camp came out, I think there was a little bit of like pie in the sky talk from us and other podcasts I know that I listen to, at least, being like, maybe this will connect to a future version. Why would we even think that? Like, what precedent is there that we're like, oh yeah, this is going to be a companion app for a game that doesn't exist yet on a different platform?
It seems so obvious, but you're right. There is no... I mean, with Fire Emblem and Heroes, they have had ample opportunity to do something like that.
Absolutely,
and have shown no interest thus far in doing so.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's fine, because like it's going to be a different experience. Fire Emblem Heroes is a different experience from, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Why would I want, something
But
in one
Animal
game?
Crossing, it just makes sense to be like, I crafted this thing in Pocket Camp, and now I want to like bring it into my Switch game.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, all of the like crafting stuff, even from like previous, from like New Leaf or even Happy Home Designer, like all of that should all just be the next
Like
Animal
like
Crossing game.
Pokemon Bank equivalent.
Yes,
where
there
you
we
can
go.
like transfer stuff. That'd be
Animal Crossing
interesting.
Bank. That's what we need. Mark, you cracked it. There was no mention of this in the Nintendo Direct Mini.
Nope, none of this.
Also, Pokemon. We know there's a Pokemon game coming. We don't know when. And it was not at all mentioned in this Direct.
Yeah, the only thing we heard about was Pokken Tournament.
Right.
Which is old news as far as I'm concerned.
Old news. And I don't know, it boggles my mind that like this is still something that's, I guess it must have sold well on Switch.
I bet it sold better than the Wii U version, all told.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. But like, I don't know, it's the game doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it was sort of fun. I had played the demo. But like the fact that they continued to support it in arcades, and then like that we found out early that it's one of the early Wii U ports. And then now to be like, oh yeah, they're still adding characters to it.
Yeah, it just with DLC even, like expecting people to pay more. There must be there is obviously a fandom and like a base for it that I'm just completely blind to.
Yeah.
Because to have this port come out, they were charging. Yeah, it included all the DLC, and I guess probably the DLC that was released in arcades and not.
That's right. That was
the Wii U.
Right.
But it was a $60 game.
Yeah.
And then to be like, and also now give us more money.
Right.
For this. Yeah, I don't understand it.
Yeah,
but.
that's well. So, and this was the only Pokemon that was represented, and probably Nintendo is like, we've got something to say about Pokemon. Here we go. But yeah, so no mention of the new Pokemon game on Switch, and also no mention of Detective Pikachu, which was confirmed for North American release either later that day or like the next day. That thing didn't make it on to. And again, it's a 3DS game, so maybe that's why.
But weird that they didn't do like a Kirby battle, whatever it's called.
Sure, yeah.
And just be like, hey, and also, by the way,
here's this hilarious amiibo that you're all going to need to buy now. Because it's huge.
Yeah, to mystify your friends.
Just a giant statue you have to keep in the middle of your kitchen table.
I mean, it's just Pikachu wearing a fedora, which makes no sense unless you know the context of Detective Pikachu.
Is that really the only thing that distinguishes him from other Pikachu?
Yeah, in fact, in the trailer for Detective Pikachu that I watched, it's like the main kid character comes out,
Tim,
and there's
yep.
Is his name really Tim?
His name is Tim.
There's do you have the option to play as a girl, or is it just like Tim,
I don't know.
Tim's your deal?
I think Tim's your deal. Yeah.
And he like walks outside, and there's Pikachu, and he's like Pika, like he normally she normally does, whatever it normally does.
He or she, they have genders, but they could be either,
he or she normally does, and then Detective Pikachu shows up, and he's like something. It's some like kiss off line where it's like, "What? You're surprised to see me?" Or surprised I sound like this, or something like that.
Is this
he has attitude.
gonna be real bad?
Look,
Mark, is this game gonna be real bad?
My heart melts a little bit at the idea of Detective Pikachu.
Right, hilarious.
The execution looks real cheap.
Yeah,
like real kind of like bargain bin. Which I would love a Phoenix Wright. Except it's like a real like noir-y like Detective Pikachu is hilarious to me.
Yeah, no, that would seems like missed opportunities, but also further missed opportunities in it. Again, we're doing it already. This game isn't coming to Switch. It's coming to 3DS, and I'm not going to play it there. I don't think.
Oh yeah, there's no way I'm. I don't open my 3DS for anything.
I opened my 3DS this weekend. Do you have one guess based on the conversations we've had in the last week? What did I play on it?
Oh no!
What did I play on my 3DS?
Chicken Wiggle?
No, not Chicken Wiggle.
Oh, it's gonna be so obvious to me. What is it?
Super Mario World.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that does make sense.
If you would like to find out why that makes sense, listen to our episode last week when we ranked the Super Mario games. World was very high.
Speaking of
list.
Chicken Wiggle,
yes,
did you see that they are gauging interest in a Kickstarter to bring that to Switch?
I did see that. Yes, with like updated cartoony graphics instead of, or I guess in addition to the kind of 8-bit pixel art of that game. It would be nice to see the game have a new life. I don't know what price point they would be seeking on that, but my advice would be to aim low. Aim low. All right. I think that's just about everything that wasn't in this direct. Did we miss anything? I think we mentioned everything that could have possibly been like part of my expectations, but not actually shown. But if you have anything that we missed, please let us know. You can shoot us an email at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Or you can get us on Twitter. We are at NinCart Society. Or just go ahead and post us on the Facebook page. There'll be a link to this episode there. That's where you can start bad-mouthing us right there. The page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. But I think we did it, Mark. I think we hit everything.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get out of this segment. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember to rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff on Apple Podcasts. Get on over to BuzzFeed. Tell them we're underrated. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We just went through all those things, Mark, so I don't feel the need to repeat myself. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, we write about comic books at retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. If you like his music, you can check out more on 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?